Hello, fourth graders. This is Miss Camarena. Today we're going to be having a lesson in understanding copyright. Maybe you've heard this term before, or maybe you have not. Today, whether you have or haven't listened or heard this term, we're going to dive into what it means. The standards that we are going to be covering under the text are for technology and application. We'll be looking at digital citizenship. You will practice safe, responsible, legal, and ethical behavior while using digital tools and resources. You are expected to respect the intellectual property of others, abide by copyright law and the fair use guidelines for educational multimedia, and practice safe, legal, and responsible use of information and technology. The objective that goes along with our standards is I will explain the purpose of copyright and identify the copyright symbol. Introduction to copyright. So imagine that you draw an awesome picture or write a cool story. Copyright is like a superpower that protects your creations. It lets you decide how others can use your work. Knowing about copyright helps you understand how important it is to be creative and respect the amazing things other people make. What is copyright? So copyright is a fancy and legal term that lets creators, people who make things like writings, music, drawings, and other neat stuff, have rights to their work. This means other people cannot use the things they've created without their permission. This helps keep their work safe and lets everyone know it's theirs. This is the copyright symbol. It's like a little C inside a circle, and it means that something is protected by copyright law. Why is copyright important? So copyright helps people who make cool things, like we previously talked about, like those songs, books, inventions, make money from their hard work. It's like a rule that says no one else can copy their creations without permission. This way, artists, writers, and inventors get credit and paid for their awesome ideas. Who owns copyright? Copyright is usually owned by the person who creates the work, but it can be transferred or assigned to others. When two people or more make something together, then they may share copyright, and other rules can apply in educational contexts. So, for example, think of it like building a really cool Lego castle. Usually, the person who builds it is the owner of the castle, but sometimes they might give it to someone else or even build it together with a friend. If they build it together, they both get to decide what happens to it. And sometimes, like at school, there might be special rules about who can use the Lego castle and how. How long does copyright protection last? When a creator makes something like the songs, music, or stories we have been talking about, they get to be the only person who can say how it is used for their whole life, plus another 70 years after that. That is copyright. But after that time, it's like their story, song, or writing becomes free for everyone. Anyone can sing it or print it without asking. That is called public domain. It's like a public park where everyone can play. Let's talk a little bit about the difference between copyright and public domain. Copyright protects the original creations, but works in the public domain can be freely used by anyone without permission. So let's go back to our public park example. If there are toys in a playground, saying this is my toy is like copyright. If you made it, then you decide who gets to play with it. Public domain would be like a toy or toys that everyone shares. Anyone can play with it because it does not belong to one person anymore. Let's look at some examples of public domain works. Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain, songs like Go Tell It on the Mountain and Angels We Have Heard on High, government documents and works created by federal employees. Maybe you've heard of some of these works, maybe your parents have. Just remember that there are always new works going into the public domain. Let's talk about how copyright works with public domain. So as I previously mentioned, copyright will protect the original work for a limited time, after which it will enter the public domain. Understanding the relationship will help you recognize when a work is free to use or requires permission. Let's talk about fair use. Fair use is like a little bit of a gray area between copyright and citing your resources. Sometimes it's okay to use small parts of someone else's work without permission. This is called fair use. An example would be like using a quote from a book for a school report, but you need to make sure to evaluate if what you are using qualifies as fair use. You do not want to use too much of what belongs to someone else without giving them credit. So let's talk about how we can respect copyright. So when we're using more than just a quote from a book for a report. One way that you can respect copyright is by citing sources. So citing sources means giving credit to the people who created the information you use. Think of it like this. You find a cool fact in a book and you use it in your school report. Citing your source is like saying, I found this awesome information in this book. You see a neat picture online and put it in your presentation. Citing your source is like saying, I got this amazing picture from this website. It's important to cite sources because it's honest, you're giving credit where credit is due, it's helpful, others can find the information you used, it's respectful, you're showing that you value other people's work. Basically, citing sources is like saying thank you for the information you used to learn something new. We also can ask for permission in order to respect copyright. Asking for permission to use someone else's work is a great way to respect copyright. Here's how you can do it. You identify the copyright holder. So this could be the author, artist, publisher, or website owner. Contact them directly. Email might be the best way to contact a person. Make sure that you are clear and polite when you request something to use that is theirs. Explain how you want to use the work. So tell them that you're going to use their picture, their song, or their writing, and how you're going to use it. Are you using it in a school project, in a presentation, on a website? And also remember to tell them that you're going to give them credit, either by using their name or maybe using a link to their website. And remember to be patient and respectful because it might take some time for them to get back to you. And remember, they can always say no. And if that's the case, then that's all right. You just need to try to use something else. Another thing that you can do to respect copyright is getting a Creative Commons license. This allows creators to share their work legally while retaining some rights. For example, if you draw a picture and you want to share it with your friends, but you still want it to be yours, Creative Commons is like having special sharing settings for your picture. You can let your friends copy it or even change it as long as they give you credit for making it. It's like saying, you can play with my toy, but remember, it's still mine. What happens if you violate copyright? Violating copyright can lead to serious consequences such as legal action, fines, or being required to remove the content. Understanding and respecting copyright helps avoid these consequences and encourages creativity and respect in the community. Think about it as taking a story from your friend without asking and pretending it was yours. That is kind of like breaking copyright rules. They might be upset and there might be consequences like saying sorry or even paying them money. So you have to be careful with that. So remember, copyright protects everyone's amazing ideas. Always ask for permission before using someone else's work. Give credit where credit is due. Be creative and share your own awesome ideas with the world. And remember to respect creativity. Be responsible and have fun sharing your own amazing ideas. So I hope that you guys learned all about copyright and you're able to explain it in your own words. to someone that you know or to yourself, and now you know how to use other people's work and even protect your own work.